Welcome back to Lost Chapters, where we bring you the forgotten stories that shaped the world. Today, we unlock a tale of power, madness, and betrayal. The rise and fall of Gaius Julius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, the man history remembers simply as Caligula. This is not just the story of a Roman emperor. It is a descent into the darkest corners of the human mind. A tale so shocking that even today it blurs the line between myth and reality. Our story begins in the year 12 AD, when Gaius was born into the powerful Julio-Claudian dynasty. He was the great-grandson of Augustus, Rome's first emperor, and the son of the beloved general Germanicus, a man so adored by the people that many hoped he would one day rule Rome himself. But tragedy struck early. Germanicus died under suspicious circumstances, possibly poisoned on imperial orders. The young Gaius, nicknamed Caligula, little boots for the tiny soldier's uniform he wore as a child, was thrust into a deadly world of political intrigue, ambition, and betrayal. Fast forward to 37 AD, the mad and aging emperor Tiberius dies, and Caligula, at the age of just 24, becomes the new ruler of the Roman Empire. At first, the empire rejoices. Caligula is young, charismatic, and charming. The people celebrate in the streets. Temples are dedicated in his name, and taxes are reduced. For the first few months, he appears to be the ideal emperor, generous, forgiving, and popular. Rome believes it has found a golden leader who will bring back the glory days of Augustus. But then, something changes. In what many historians believe was either an epileptic seizure, a serious illness, or even poisoning, Caligula falls gravely ill. When he recovers, he is no longer the same man. The transformation is terrifying. What follows is 4 years of tyranny, cruelty, and madness that shock even the blood-hardened Romans. Caligula begins to believe he is more than a man. He claims to be a living god, demands to be worshipped as Jupiter himself, and orders temples and statues erected in his divine image. The people whisper. The senators tremble. But none dare challenge him, for Caligula's wrath is swift, unpredictable, and deadly. And this is just the beginning. Caligula's transformation was more than political. It was deeply psychological. The man who once smiled at adoring crowds now gazed upon them with contempt, his mind clouded by delusions of grandeur and paranoia. He declared himself not only an emperor, but a living god, a god who could rule the seas, command the skies, and control life and death. The first signs of madness appeared in small but unsettling ways. He ordered that statues of Jupiter, Neptune, and even Venus have their heads replaced with his own likeness. He demanded that even senators kneel before him as if he were divine. But soon, the madness turned violent. Caligula began executing people for minor slights or imagined insults. Even those once close to him, family, friends, and military commanders, were not safe. The cruelty knew no bounds. In a shocking display of sadism, he forced fathers to watch their sons tortured to death. He is rumored to have fed prisoners to wild beasts for entertainment. Some historians even claim he laughed as people were executed, and that he wished the Roman people had one neck so he could strike them down with a single blow. And then came the bizarre. Caligula's horse, Incitatus, became a symbol of his deranged rule. He not only gave the horse a marble stable, purple blankets, and servants, he threatened to make Incitatus a senator as an open mockery of the Roman elite. Some believe he did this to humiliate the Senate. Others believe he genuinely saw himself and his horse as above the laws of men. But the emperor's eccentricity wasn't confined to Rome. In one of history's strangest military campaigns, Caligula led his legions to the northern coast of Gaul, not to fight, but to order his soldiers to collect seashells as spoils of war against the sea god Neptune. The once proud legions returned to Rome carrying baskets of shells. And Caligula declared victory over the ocean itself. By now, whispers of rebellion filled the marble halls of the Palatine Hill. Senators and generals once loyal began to plot. They feared not just for the empire, but for their very survival. The question was no longer if Caligula would fall, but when and how violently. And so, the seeds of assassination were sown. By the year 40 AD, Caligula's grip on Rome had descended into a reign of terror. The city was no longer ruled, it was held hostage by fear. Behind the gilded doors of the imperial palace, the emperor's paranoia deepened. He saw enemies everywhere. In the Senate, among the Praetorian Guard, and even within his own family. And in return, the city saw a mad god perched atop a crumbling throne. The final straw came when Caligula began publicly mocking the Senate and humiliating the military elite. He declared that he alone controlled the fates of life and death, and that Rome would obey or be reduced to ashes. In secret, a group of conspirators composed of senators, nobles, and members of the Praetorian Guard began to weave a plot to end the madness once and for all. At the heart of the conspiracy was Cassius Chaerea, a decorated officer of the Guard whom Caligula had publicly ridiculed, mocking his masculinity with cruel taunts. The plot was simple but dangerous. Strike swiftly, strike in public. Leave no room for escape. On the 24th of January, 41 AD, the conspirators made their move. The day began like any other Caligula. surrounded by guards, was set to attend a theatrical performance at the imperial palace. But as he exited a private performance, he walked through a narrow underground passageway, and there, in the shadows, the assassins waited. Cassius Sharia struck first. With one swift motion, he plunged his blade into Caligula's neck. The emperor staggered, stunned, but there was no mercy. The others joined in stab after stab until Caligula's lifeless body collapsed onto the cold stone floor. It was done. Rome's mad emperor was dead, but the chaos had only begun. The conspirators rushed to find Caligula's wife and infant daughter, brutally murdering them, as well to prevent any claims to the throne. The Roman people, shocked and confused, emerged into the streets. Some cheered, others wept, but all knew a dark chapter in Roman history had closed. A man thought too weak and simple to rule, yet who would become one of Rome's most unlikely emperors. Thus ended the life of Caligula, a boy born into privilege, a man consumed by madness, and an emperor who terrified the most powerful city on earth. Caligula's reign remains one of the darkest and most chilling chapters in Roman history, a story of absolute power and how it can corrupt. Absolutely. From a young prince filled with promise to an emperor feared by all. Caligula's downfall reminds us that even the greatest empires can falter when fear replaces leadership, and that the most untold stories often hide the deepest truths. If you've enjoyed this journey into the forgotten corners of the 1st century, don't forget to subscribe to Lost Chapters, where history's most incredible, untold, and shocking stories come to life. Hit the like button if this story gripped you. Share it with those who love the thrill of forgotten history. And tap the bell icon so you never miss the next descent into the shadows of the past.